If you're hoping Jimmy Kimmel will be back to host the Oscars next year, I have some bad news for you. Jimmy has reportedly turned down an offer return, and he's not the only one saying no to the high-profile gig. John Mulaney also apparently passed. So this got us asking the question, is hosting the Oscars kind of losing its appeal? Dalton.
The Oscars, it just has so much baggage, you know? Baggage tied to diversity, you know? It looks, as far as the winners of the awards, doesn't look like this audience is not diverse, you know? So there's that, and then, you know, hosts are getting slapped up, you know what I mean? Chris Rock, and so there's a lot going on. But one of the greater concerns is it's normally like a comedian, you know, comedians host the show.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, it's really tough to be a comedian nowadays in general, and in particular hosting the Oscars, right? Because once you strip away jokes tied to, like, you know, crude stereotypes, tied to, you know, gender, race, class.
Politics.
It's politics, right? It's just like a lot of comedians don't want to host it. They feel they're going to get canceled. They can't say anything. So I think that's one of the greater concerns.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Interesting.
You know what? I think that Hollywood, very good points, but I think Hollywood has this is indicative of a much bigger problem, which it's such an incestuous industry where they've decided that there are 10 or so people who are their A-list, and they give every single job to the same people every single time. So when one person like Jimmy says, I don't want to do it, everyone's like, what are we going to do? It's like, Hollywood, dear Hollywood, there are hundreds of people that you can hire who are just as funny. And, you know, we can see it with all the podcasts and all of the, I don't want to say, but Netflix has all of these comedians where it's given them an outlet for us to see them, because before that, the executives were kind of like, were able to like leave people out and be like, you can't get into this industry unless we give you the okay, but luckily we have all these other things. So I'm thinking there's a lot of people. Nikki Glaser, I don't know why we're not talking about Nikki Glaser. She would be perfect. Alonzo Bowden is also hilarious. Sebastian Maniscalco, right? And then Nick Bargatze are comedians that I've found through the podcast and through all of these, you know, streaming services who are hilarious, who would do a great job. So open your eyes. They're right there. They're right at your
I know, but it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah, I think it's not an easy gig.
It's
like
not,
we've seen people do spectacular fails. James Franco and Anne Hathaway, right? Those are big names.
Well, who really thought that was going to be good?
I don't know, but there's been multiple.
They were cast,
right?
Yeah. You know what? And also, it reminds me when you're talking, Andrea, of what's happening in the movie industry. People don't want to fund small little indie movies because they're not going to make huge numbers at the box office. That's why we have 3,000 films of one certain universe. And, you know, they want big, they want bold, they want a sure thing. And I think the sad part is, even though I would love to see some of those comedians that you mentioned host, the thing is, who's a sure thing? And that's where I think there has to be some bravery on the part of executives who are going to be casting this for sure. But I also think that is also on us as viewers, because the viewing landscape is so fragmented. Unless there's a big name, a lot of us don't get interested, unfortunately. So it's on us too. And I think that they want a sure thing or it's nothing. This is why I don't think he would say yes, but I would love to see Trevor Noah host because he did a great job. He does the Grammys. I actually listened to his podcast, so I'm pretty sure he would say no, but he hits the tone. He knows how to walk that fine line of politics, funny. He's very chummy with the celebrities, but he's an outsider because he's from South Africa with that cute little accent of his. I think he'd be great, but I think he'd say no.
You make a very good point, because they're so risk adverse, but it was the past host who tapped Noah because no one wanted him and no one knew his name. And they're like, just give this kid a chance, and now we all know and love him. And all I'm saying is, Hollywood, do the same thing. There are a bunch of Noahs out there besides Noah. You like Noah? There's a bunch of Noahs.
Can I just say, though, that Oscars, the viewership actually was up last year. I think something like, not a huge percentage, but I think part of the reason for that was you were talking about big blockbuster movies. Barbie, obviously, was the biggest billion.
Oppenheimer.
They were huge, so people wanted to tune in for that because of the love of the movies. I will just say, going back to something you mentioned, though, what about this idea? Having Chris Rock back with Will Smith to co-host. Listen, I know it's a controversial decision, but listen, they could be a microcosm for world peace. If they could get back together again and get along.
Wow.
You know
Never
what?
thought of that.
You all would tune in for this. You would.
You're not wrong.
I mean, I think just this idea around risk taking, and you know, really pushing envelopes. Like I'd like to see somebody like Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
To be honest. I'd love to see him host, right?
Me too.
Because he's going to meet bottom lines. He's witty. He's irreverent. You know, the guy's won he won the award, the Mark Twain Award for comedians for American humor. Like he has all the accolades, and he's also going to bring in, I think, newer audiences. To be honest, right? Because the Oscars, they were always Oscars so white, diversity. He's going to bring in all these people on social media and digitally oriented, BIPOC people of color. It's going to bring in a whole new audience.
But don't you feel like he's also one of those comedians who feels like he's boxed in and he wouldn't work well in a network television show because he wouldn't be able to say what he wants to say?
Yeah, he might restrict what he has to say.
And I think the trans community would have something to say about it.
He's going to, and that's the thing. He's going to piss people off. There's no question, right? But again, most comedians do, you know? So like, it's kind of like this, like Sarah Silverman, you know, she was performing in blackface years ago. Her career's thriving, it's flourishing, right? So it's, again, I have some concerns around how to be a successful comedian now. In today's day and age, it's really tough. Really tough,
Hey there, what did you think? Drop your comments below and join the conversation. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you can find more on everything from food and fashion to pop culture and current events. See you soon.